Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Week 2 of college football is in the books, and guys, it was nothing like Week 1. But if anything, it just continued to show how crazy and insane and unpredictable this college football season is and will be. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert here to bring you our Week 2 college football recap, just like we will do every single week. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and also make sure to check out everything down in the description below. We've got so much exclusive college football content down there for you. That includes our exclusive expert picks for both college and NFL. It's over on the gridironexpert.com. Make sure to go sign up for those today. Again, we post our picks weekly, every single Wednesday, with deep, in-depth analysis. We're going to add an extra feature later on next week that you do not want to miss. So if you haven't signed up for those, make sure to do it now so you can get our predictions for the entire season. Again, expert picks over on the gridironexpert.com, along with everything else down in the description. So let's take a look at Week 2. Again, our Week 2 just full recap of college football, guys. Taking a look at some of the key moments, some of the key games. Again, we saw 5 ranked teams go down in Week 2, 3 of them coming to unranked opponents. We'll talk about all of those. We saw 3 more ranked teams narrowly escape with victories over unranked opponents. And we'll talk on all of those very briefly too. Before we get to our quick headlines, and before we dive down deeper into the main games, we take a look at our big board. The whiteboard is back, of course. Last week we did not have the whiteboard for our weekly recap, so we're kind of combining our Week 1 and Week 2 records. Moneyline picks, 49-6 in Week 2. So straight up, 49-6 this week, 89%. Now, you can't ask for much of a better week in Week 2, really any week ever. 49-6 for us overall, 95-19, right at 83.3%. Again, we have not faltered and we have not fallen under 77% here at the Gridiron Expert. We don't do that. 77% or better. And that's going to be the same here in year 5. So we're sitting at 83%. Not too bad for 2 weeks in. Against the spread this week, broke even, 5-5. Should have been a 60% week. Should have been at least 6-4. We're looking at you, Army. We're looking at you for blowing that 21-point lead and not letting us cover. But 5-5 against the spread this week, 12-11 overall. We went 60% last week, 6-4. So again, if you sign up for those expert picks, these are the picks you're going to get. And it's still very early on. We have never fallen below 500. We always come out with a winning record. This record here and the records we've posted the last 2 years, some of the best in the entire country, being at over 80% of the analysts that you're going to find nationally and right here on YouTube. So let's take a look at the quick headlines real quick. The Johnny Majors Bowl, Pittsburgh taking down Tennessee 41-34. That was one of the better games of the day, guys. That one was at 11 o'clock. That was an 11 o'clock Central game between Pittsburgh and Tennessee at Neyland Stadium, and it was one of the better games of the entire day. Pittsburgh winning 41-34. Tennessee jumping out to a 10-0 lead, blocked the punt, punched it in. Josh Heupel's squad looked great, but Pittsburgh's was better, and we knew this was going to be a battle between Josh Heupel's high-powered, no-huddle offense and Pittsburgh's defense. Could the Panthers handle it? Not only could they handle it by forcing 3 turnovers, Pittsburgh's offense was able to match Tennessee step for step. The Panthers outscored Tennessee 27-10 in the second quarter. Kenny Pickett had 285 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'm telling you, this Pittsburgh team is for real. In that Coastal Division race between North Carolina, Miami, Virginia Tech, and Pittsburgh, it's going to be one of the most intriguing ones to watch in 2021. Big time win for the Panthers there. Number 8, Notre Dame survived Toledo 32-29. So last week, Notre Dame goes on the road to beat Florida State in overtime, an overtime thriller. They come back home to South Bend and barely get past Toledo. Neither team scored in the third quarter, but we saw 3 lead changes in the fourth quarter, including 2 in the final minute and a half. Notre Dame scoring a game-winning touchdown with 1:09 left, right after Jack Cohn got his dislocated finger popped back into place. Pops it back in, struts back out there, game-winning touchdown. That is a fighter, and that is the guy that you want leading your team. Maybe it was just Toledo, but it was still a good win for Notre Dame. Big win for Notre Dame because they couldn't afford to lose it. And obviously in 2 weeks they take on Wisconsin and Chicago, and that will be the true test. Number 22, Miami. They survived App State. Remember we said there were 3 ranked teams that survived narrowly against unranked opponents. Notre Dame was one of them. Miami was another, beating App State 25-23, needing a game-winning field goal with 2:04 left. But you know your game wasn't that exciting. You know your game wasn't that important when you look at the headlines. You realize that the biggest thing to come of your game was a cat. If you haven't seen it, guys, at the Miami game, there was a cat hanging from the upper deck of the stadium, clinging on for life, and was ultimately caught when he fell by some fans below with an American flag. Where they're caught in like a flag, were able to cradle him. Cat was just fine. All the headlines, the ESPN ticker, the highlights, everything was focused more on the cat than they were Miami surviving Appalachian State. I don't know what that says about either program there. And then finally, you can go ahead and kiss Mike Norvell goodbye in Tallahassee, guys. Unbelievable ending between Florida State and Jacksonville State. The Gamecocks of Jacksonville State walk into Tallahassee and win on a game-winning 59-yard Hail Mary to win 20-17. How they caught it, how they weren't tackled, how Florida State allowed that to happen beats me. It shows you how bad the Florida State football program is right now. Everybody was so high on them after their big-time performance against Notre Dame. Yes, they lost, but they looked good. They seem to have turned a corner. McKenzie Milton was the man. And again, all the credit in the world for McKenzie Milton for coming back from that injury. But you just lost to Jacksonville State, 20-17. You allowed 2 touchdowns to the Gamecocks in the final 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Mike Norvell's gone, guys. Whether you want to believe it or not, he is done with the Seminoles. Let's get into the main games here, the main analysis here from the biggest games of the weekend. And we'll start with, again, one of the earlier games, one of the games of the week, Oregon-Ohio State. The 12th ranked Oregon Ducks stunned number 3 Ohio State 35-28. They stunned the nation because I don't know if there was any, if many people out there that were picking Oregon to win this game, unless, of course, you're an Oregon fan. And I even know a bunch of Oregon fans that weren't even picking the Ducks to win this game in Columbus. Not without Kayvon Thibodeau. Not without their linebacker and Justin Flo. You lose 2 of your top defensive players, go on the road to take on Ohio State, and Oregon dominated that game. I think the game was worse than the 35-28 score indicates. Oregon torched Ohio State, and what a big win for the Ducks, guys. They were 0-9 against the Buckeyes. Ohio State was riding a 23-game home winning streak, and the Ducks are legitimate playoff contenders and the only team, I think, out of the Pac-12 that has a shot at making the playoff. When you look at this game, look at the numbers. First off, Oregon never trailed. They came on the road and never trailed in this game. They then put up 269 rushing yards against Ohio State. And we said, first off, Oregon would need to play just about a flawless game to win this. Secondly, it was going to be a battle between Oregon's rushing attack and Ohio State's passing attack. Which one was going to do the most damage? And which defense was going to be able to crack down the most when they needed to. And it was Oregon's defense that cracked down the most, and it was Oregon's rushing offense and rushing attack that ended up getting the job done. 269 rushing yards on the day, 7.1 yards per carry, including 161 yards from C.J. Verdell. And give credit to Anthony Brown. I was wrong. I liked Anthony Brown a lot. I love his dual threat ability, but I wasn't sure if he could be the guy to win a game like this through the air, and he was able to do that. Had 236 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. A veteran quarterback who's played both at Boston College and now Oregon, rolled into Ohio State, defeated the Buckeyes, a Buckeyes team that still put up 612 yards of offense, 484 from their quarterback in C.J. Stroud, but it was not enough. Ryan Day was handed his first regular season loss. Mario Cristobal gets a monumental victory for the Ducks, who we knew were the Pac-12 favorites, but now, guys, are not just Pac-12 favorites, but should be taken seriously as a playoff contender. They will rise high into the top 10 after this victory. And again, stunned me, and I know stunned the nation, with a win of the 3rd-ranked Buckeyes. Huge, huge, unbelievable win. Ohio State, if they want to make the playoff, again, room for error is now very slim, but they have to fix their rushing defense. Oregon torched it. Minnesota torched it. Something's got to be fixed for Ryan Day in Columbus. Real quick, number 5, Texas A&M. They survived a big scare in Denver, taking down Colorado 10-7 in the final minutes. The biggest reason, guys, this game was so close, and no disrespect to Colorado, give all the credit in the world to Carl Durrell and the Buffaloes, but for me, the major reason this game was so close was because Haynes King was injured in the first quarter and did not come back. So he gets injured in the first quarter, gets in street clothes, he's on crutches, he's in a walking boot. Rumor has it he's broken his ankle. We do not have confirmation on that. If so, he's done, at least for a very, very long time, which means Zach Calzada is going to be the man for the Aggies, at least probably for next week, maybe for a little while longer. He ended up throwing the game-winning touchdown to Isaiah Spiller, though, with 2:41 left. He didn't have a great game. He struggled at times. Again, it was 7-3 in favor of Colorado for the majority of this game. But in crunch time, Calzada connected, gave Texas A&M the victory. And again, the Aggies, guys, their playoff hopes and SEC title hopes could take a big blow if Haynes King is out for an extended period of time, if in fact it is a broken ankle. We don't know that for sure yet, but we're going to keep our eye on that. But again, the fifth-ranked team in the country barely survives Colorado, 10-7 in Denver as 17-point favorites. And again, credit to the Buffaloes, 171 rushing yards. They held Texas A&M to just 288 yards on the day, 97 rushing. Shows that Texas A&M's defense is mortal, as a matter of fact. And again, they're going to have to take a major step offensively if they want to keep racking up the wins and remaining as a top 5 team in the country. Down in Iowa, the Cy-Hawk game. We were also wrong on this one. We own up to our losses here at the Gridiron Expert. We always do. For you Cyclones fans, I feel for you. I hurt for you because this should have been the year. And if it's not now, it's when. Matt Campbell is now 0-5 all-time against Iowa. The Cyclones of Iowa State have now lost 6 straight games to the Hawkeyes. Iowa rolled into Ames with College game day in town. Not just the first meeting as top 10 teams, but the first meeting as ranked teams, both teams being ranked in the series history, and Iowa thumped them. They killed Iowa State, 27-17. That score looking a little bit better than the game really was. 1 week after posting 3 turnovers, including 2 pick sixes against Indiana, Iowa comes into Ames, again with College game day, one of the best atmospheres of the day, one of the best atmospheres, one of the biggest games of this series, rolls into Ames and forces 4 turnovers. 3 against Indiana, now 4 against Iowa State. They converted those 4 turnovers into 20 points. And guys, that you don't have to have a great offense if your defense is doing stuff like that. You know, we were concerned about Iowa's offense. We said, hey, are they going to have enough from Spencer Petras and Tyler Goodson to win this game? Because we didn't expect another defensive performance like this. We knew they were good. But 4 turnovers, another defensive touchdown, we didn't expect it. Only 173 yards of offense, but you don't need an offense when your defense is scoring for you and setting you up with very, very favorable field position. And guys, I really feel that the turning point in this game and the nail in the coffin for Iowa State was when Jack Campbell picked up that fumble from Breece Hall deep in Iowa State territory, like on the 8-yard line, scoop and score, and Iowa took a 21-10 lead. It was 14-10 at halftime. It was 14-10 then, but 21-10 with 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. After that scoop and score, it sucked the life out of Jack Trice Stadium. It sucked the life out of Iowa State, and the Cyclones were done in that moment. Brock Purdy threw 3 more interceptions. If you recall, last year in the Big 12 Championship, he did the exact same thing. Purdy has been a turnover machine in these big games, it feels like, and you can't help but wonder, will Matt Campbell make a change? Most likely not. Purdy tends to bounce back, but he's got to be more consistent. The Cyclone season is not done by any means. But remember, if they really want to keep their playoff hopes alive, that's going to require them to go on the road to beat Oklahoma in November. Odds of that, not looking very good either. Iowa, the real deal. The Cyclones, still a very solid team. Still to me a New Year's Six caliber team. But they still have a lot of work to do. And this performance was not just embarrassing, but it was majorly, majorly disappointing. Like we just said, if not now, when will it happen for Iowa State? Got a couple games left. 4 on our recap here. Just kind of bear with us as we go through these 4 relatively quickly. How about Arkansas? How about Arkansas taking down number 15 Texas 40-21? 40-21. That was another game, guys, where I think that score looked a little bit better than the game really was. Texas got a late touchdown in that game after they had already taken down Hudson Card. Arkansas was kind of taking their foot off the gas a little bit. But 40-21 for Arkansas. over Texas. Their first win against a top 15 opponent since 2016. And again, guys, we said that Arkansas was going to win this game. We said it back in the preseason. We said it the other day in our Week 2 predictions. A lot of people said, how? How do you have Arkansas winning this game after they struggled against Rice and Texas beat Louisiana? We weren't buying the Texas hype. We've seen this story before. We've seen Texas get overhyped, and we've seen them falter the exact same week after, maybe even 2 weeks after if they're lucky. But the Hogs ran wild on Saturday. 333 rushing yards for the Razorbacks. And the crazy thing is, they didn't even have a 100-yard rusher. 333 rushing yards for Arkansas. A game where the Hogs never trailed, led 16-0 at halftime. Dominated this game from start to finish. The defense, led by Barry Odom, their defensive coordinator, was unreal. Had a blocked punt, had the strip sack, held Texas to 256 yards on the day, 1 week after Texas, against a good Louisiana defense, put up 435 yards of offense. So Texas, welcome to the SEC, unofficially. We're not here to dog on the Longhorns, we're not here to roast the Longhorns, but here's the thing. You're coming to the SEC, and you just lost to Arkansas, a team who is taking a major step forward under Sam Pittman, and is back on track, both not just in the SEC, but nationally. But Arkansas is no Alabama. They're no Georgia. They're no Florida. They might not even be an Auburn or an Ole Miss right now. And Texas, if you think you're ready to take on those teams, you need to think again. They're in for a rude awakening, and they were in Fayetteville, an electric crowd in Fayetteville, and Sam Pittman and the Hogs got it done. And you need to watch out for them in 2021. How about Michigan taking down Washington 31-10? We also thought Michigan would win this game. This game should have been a little bit more exciting had Washington not lost to Montana last week. So now the Huskies are 0-2. And just one quick note on that. Michigan, again, dominated this game from start to finish, never trailed in this game. Like Arkansas, was amazing on the ground. 343 rushing yards to the Wolverines. Arkansas posted 333. Michigan posted 343 against what we thought was a good Washington defense. We really thought the Huskies would play a little bit better defensively. We thought they'd play a little bit better offensively. Just better performance as a whole after such a disappointing loss to Montana last week as the 20th ranked team in the country. And they did not. They strolled into the big house, gave up 343 rushing yards, and Washington is now sitting at 0-2, licking their wounds, saying, what do we have to do to get back on track? While Michigan, to me, right now, looks like a fringe or low-level top 25 team. Again, they've yet to hit conference play, and we know the back half of that schedule for Michigan is tough. But right now, Jim Harbaugh is pleasing the fan base. He just got a double-digit win at home against a rival, if you will, on primetime television. If you're a Michigan fan, you can't ask for any more than that. And enjoy the good times while they last, because I feel like the hard times and the more difficult times are on their way later on this season. 2 more games here. BYU. How about the Cougars, guys, snapping a 9-game losing streak to Utah in the Holy War? The 21st ranked Utah Utes walked into the Provo for a game against BYU, and the Cougars said, the streak ends today. We're going to get our first win over you, our in-state rival, our first win since 2009. And they did it to me in convincing fashion, defeating the Utes 26-17. I thought Charlie Brewer and his Utah defense would be better. I thought Brewer would play better. I really thought the defense would once again be one of the best in the nation. They did not show that last week against Weber State. They did not show that this week against BYU. Again, like Arkansas, like Michigan, like so many of these other teams, BYU, in one of the bigger games of their season, did not trail. BYU never trailed in this game. They were up 23-7 entering the fourth quarter. They posted 380 yards of offense, 231 of which were on the ground. Utah usually pretty good at stuffing the run. Not on Saturday night. Jaron Hall played phenomenal for BYU. Tyler Algier had over 100 rushing yards. The BYU defense forced 2 turnovers. They actually won the game, in my eyes, in the trenches for once. And BYU, again, snapping that 9-game losing streak to Utah. Huge win for Kalani Sitake. All the credit in the world to the Cougars. Utah, back to the drawing boards, will drop out of the top 25. Pac-12 title hope still intact, but obviously still have a lot of work to do, while BYU, in my eyes, could jump into the top 25 and set up an intriguing showdown next week. A top 25 showdown potentially against Arizona State in Provo. Watch out for that one, guys. And then finally, earlier in the video, we said you could kiss Mike Norvell goodbye in Florida State. Whether that happens as soon as tomorrow or today, even on Sunday, or whether it happens much later in the year because we don't expect much from Florida State. Similar to that, you can kiss Clay Helton goodbye in LA. USC fell to Stanford 42-28. Let me paint the scene for you. Stanford lost last week in Arlington 24-7 to Kansas State, a Kansas State team who this last week barely survived Southern Illinois out of the FCS. They fell to the Wildcats 24-7, had no offense and had no answer for Kansas State's rushing attack. USC is the 14th ranked team in the country. They beat a solid San Jose State team, have an electric air raid offense. They were supposed to be a Pac-12 title contender this year, maybe even a dark horse playoff contender. At home, a place where the last two meetings against Stanford, they have won by at least 18 points. They fall by 14. Clay Helton out. On top of that, how about Tanner McKee? The Stanford quarterback making his first career start goes 16 for 23, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. First career start at the Coliseum, and you put up that stat line and upset a top 15 opponent as 17-point underdogs. Clay Helton is gone. USC fans are tired of it. This was a game they should have won. They were expected to win, and we have seen so many instances of that where they are expected to win or games they should have won and they fall short. And I think this was the final straw. And I believe Clay Helton will be out of a job possibly as soon as Monday morning. If not, it will be midway through the season because this is getting unacceptable for the Trojans. Not only could they not move the ball offensively, the defense was horrendous, and you knew it was going to be a rough night at the Coliseum early in the first quarter when Nathaniel Pete opened the scoring with an 87-yard rushing touchdown for the Cardinals. When that happened, I said, USC's in for a bigger fight than they thought, and it might not be pretty, and it wasn't. 42-28, again, a score that's actually relatively generous. Stanford was running away with this game, had a pick six later on in the game, led 28-13 after that, and the pick six to me was absolutely the dagger. Clay Helton is out. Mike Norvell is out. Maybe they can do a celebrity coach swap. Send Mike Norvell out, out west, and we'll send Clay Helton out east, and we'll see how each of them do at their respective programs. But 2 coaches will be gone very soon, whether it's here or at the end of the year. We know which 2 coaches are absolutely going to be out of a job, and USC might potentially fall out of the top 25 after an abysmal performance on their home turf. Because guys, there you have it. Week 2 of college football in the books. Unbelievable matchups left and right. Again, was it like week 1? No. But we saw some great games. We saw some upsets, and we saw some statement victories from a lot of teams. A statement win from Oregon. Statement win from Arkansas. Statement win from Michigan. Statement win from Iowa even, going on the road and taking down their in-state rival, the 9th-ranked team in the country. The top 10, guys, is going to look wildly different. And the list of contenders this year is going to look wildly different. Week 2 may not have been as exciting as week 1, but it shaped the national landscape in a way that we never thought possible, in a greater way in just week 2. Oregon will be in the top 10. Iowa will rise in the top 10. Ohio State will fall. The room for error for some of these elite teams has gotten much smaller, and it's only week 2, which means, again, guys, we are in store for one heck of a season. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and, of course, check out everything down in the description below. Go sign up for those expert picks today over on thegridironexpert.com. Again, some of the best spread picks, both college and NFL, in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national analysts for 3 years running. So make sure to go sign up for those today so you don't miss out on anything else. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.